Hey everyone, and today I'm gonna reveal hidden details from Squid Game Season 2 that I can bet you haven't noticed before. This is part 2 of my Squid Game Season 2 breakdown, but don't worry if you haven't watched part 1 yet, you can check out that video after you're done with this one. So without any further ado, let's begin. For the six-legged game, Ji-hun and his team had to wait a long, nerve-wracking 4 hours before their turn. Let me explain how. With 365 players split into groups of 5, that's 73 teams in total. Each team had 5 minutes to complete the challenges. Since 2 teams played simultaneously, that means the total wait time for Ji-hun and his team was 180 minutes, or 3 hours. But wait, there's more. The guards needed extra time between rounds to clean up and collect the bodies, so let's add another hour for that. That would mean, by the time Ji-hun and his team got to play the six-legged game, they had been waiting for at least 4 hours. Now imagine the mental toll it must have had on Ji-hun's team, since they were watching people fail and die over and over, knowing their turn was coming. Sure, going last gave them extra time to strategize, but God, waiting for the bodies to be cleaned up before you can go is torture. This would also explain why Dae-ho was so good at playing gongi. He probably remastered pebble throwing in those 4 hours, while everyone else was losing their minds. When the recruiter played Russian roulette with the lone shark, notice that the recruiter actually loaded a dummy bullet. You can tell by the hole at the base of the casing. Here's how it works, that hole is where the primer sits. The primer is a small explosive that, when struck by the firing pin, ignites and propels the bullet out of the barrel. If the primer has already been hit or is missing altogether, the gun won't fire. So, in the first round, there was 0 chance of the gun firing. In the second game, the recruiter added 3 more dummies, but this time 1 real bullet. You can tell because only 1 bullet looks flat, meaning the primer hasn't already been hit. That means when the recruiter said they had a 5 in 6 chance of dying, in reality, there was actually only a 1 in 6 chance of dying. So why did the recruiter lie about this? My theory is, the recruiter wanted to watch them suffer. He didn't want the game to end in 1 or 2 rounds. Watching their fear and panic was part of his plan. Adding more bullets made both players think death was almost certain, even though the odds were still in their favor. Thanks to Simon for sending me this detail. The recruiter died on the couch with his eyes still open. But if you pay close attention, a few moments later, when Ji-hun is talking to Choi Woo-suk, notice the actor playing the recruiter blinks. That's Gong-yu, and it seems like he got a bit tired of playing dead and decided to sneak in a blink when the camera wasn't directly on him. But we love him so much, we notice him even when he's just lying dead in the background. In the red light, green light game, Ji-hun's constant guidance and instructions kept everyone calm, and for almost 2 minutes, no one was eliminated. This was frustrating for the frontman, as the game usually sees a massive elimination spree within the first minute. But when player 196 finally gets eliminated, the frontman breathes a sigh of relief and casually takes a sip of his drink. Now, here's where things get interesting. If you look closely at the screen he's watching, you'll notice 3 dead bodies on the ground, and that is a mistake. Because at that point in the game, only player 196 should have been eliminated, no one else. In episode 5, the frontman offers his milk to the pregnant girl, saying, "I cannot drink plain milk." Now, back in season 1, episode 3, Illinois Nam said that his son can't digest plain milk either. This could potentially mean that In-ho, aka the frontman, is Il Nam's son. As we learned in season 2, In-ho and Jun-ho are half-brothers, and they have the same father. Let me know your thoughts on this theory in the comments. While watching season 2, you might have wondered, did any of the previous winners ever try to stop the games like Ji-hun? And I think the answer is, no. Nobody ever attempted to take on the VIPs or the system to stop the games. Only Ji-hun did. Let me explain, we know the games have been running since 1988. So by 2023, that's 15 editions and 15 different winners. But unlike Ji-hun, those winners were cold-blooded killers, willing to do anything to survive. And we already know one of those previous winners is the frontman, so who knows how many more of the winners joined and are now part of the game. Think about it, Ji-Hun's journey was defined by sheer luck and others' sacrifices. In red light, green light, Ali saved him at the last second. During Dalgona, his sweat accidentally gave him the idea to lick the honeycomb. In tug of war, the old man, aka Il Nam, devised the winning strategy. For marbles, Ji-Hun was paired with the game's creator. In Glass Bridge, he almost went first but ended up last, which saved him. Even at the end, Sang-woo killed Sae Byok and then sacrificed himself during the final Squid game. Ji-Hun didn't win because he was ruthless, but because he is compassionate. He won because of luck, timing, and others' sacrifices. Even during Season 2, he kept getting lucky with the recruiter. And that's what makes Ji-Hun unique. He's an anomaly, someone who wasn't supposed to win but did, and someone who still has empathy. The previous winners? They were killers, hardened by the games, with no reason to challenge the system. That's why we've never heard from them and why Ji-Hun is the only one bold enough to fight back. A lot of you commented on my Part 1 breakdown, saying I got a detail wrong. So, I went back, rewatched, and now I'm here to clarify. The detail was this. As I referenced to some extent, the child forsakes his mom during the blend game. Yet, large numbers of you accept he didn't really forsake her, he was powerfully snatched by the two different folks. All things considered, I hear you, chaps. Be that as it may, I actually stand by my take. Indeed, from the start, the two people really do snatch him and drag him away from his mom. Furthermore, indeed, he attempts to oppose them, however to a certain degree. Since, supposing that you look carefully, and I will dial it back for you here, there's a second where they quit snatching him. By then, he might have basically run back to his mom. In any case, all things being equal, he quits any pretense of opposing, betrays her, and enthusiastically strolls into the space to somewhere safe and secure. For my purposes, that is a reasonable instance of deserting. So I genuinely want to believe that you see the point I'm attempting to make here. The scout is valiant during Russian roulette with Ji-Hun, pointing the firearm at himself on different occasions decisively. Be that as it may, back in Season 1 when Ji-Hun took out a lighter formed like a firearm, the spotter winced in dread. From the outset, this could appear to be conflicting, however I believe there's a legitimate purpose for this as well. The spotter was likely responding the way in which any typical individual would in that situation. He communicates with many individuals each year, all at their bottommost extremes. He knows precisely how to control and seem interesting to his objectives. For this situation, that wouldn't shock me in the least, assuming that he realized it was only a toy and cooperated to seem to be more human to Ji-Hun. Yet, who might expect a typical person getting along horribly to convey a genuine weapon? What's more, procuring a genuine gun in South Korea is staggeringly hard for the typical individual. Along these lines, his response might have been part certified shock and part determined execution. Notice how Ji-Hun never involves an umbrella in the show. In Season 1, he was continuously strolling in the downpour without one. In any event, when he went to his ex's condo, he neglected to take the umbrella back. Presently, after 3 years in Season 2, he's actually out in the downpour, without an umbrella. He appears to have this peculiar propensity for simply going out in the downpour all through the series. It's practically similar to the Dalgona game, with the umbrella-molded honeycomb had him with an enduring effect. Perhaps cutting out that shape made him see umbrellas in an entirely different manner. It's likewise a return to Prepare 1, where he said that he generally used to fail to remember his umbrella as a youngster. It's a little person characteristic, and I love the wonderful way the Chief Dong Hyuk-hwang kept it reliable across the 2 seasons. Ji-Hun and his failed to remember umbrellas, it's to make sure him. Back in Season 1, during the Dalgona game, the umbrella plan on the wall was straightforward, an essential umbrella shape. However, the one players needed to cut out from the honeycomb was significantly more complicated, with additional points that made it harder to remove. Presently in Season 2, when Ji-Hun longs for one more round of Dalgona, notice in his fantasy, the umbrella on the wall matches the specific plan he needed to cut out in Season 1. However, truly, the wall in those days just had a fundamental umbrella plan. This irregularity wasn't a misstep, it was conscious. It features that Ji-hun is dreaming, and his brain is reshaping the memory in light of his own insight. It's likewise a cunning visual sign for fans to understand that how the situation is playing out isn't genuine and Ji-hun is as a matter of fact dreaming. The spotter offers vagrants a decision: take some bread or take a stab at a lottery ticket. Yet, the show never truly makes sense of why he does this or who told him to. All things considered, I assume I sorted out the explanation. He's doing it since he feels regretful. As his responsibility is to enlist guiltless individuals for a lethal game where a large portion of them kick the bucket. At the point when they pick the ticket over the bread, it somewhat bothers him, similar to he's amazed individuals would prefer to bet while they're starving. In any case, truly, that is the place of the entire show. Individuals frequently pursue the remote possibility of a major success rather than simply taking the protected choice. The recruiter's choice to do this little game is him justifying why he's part of the Squid Game. He thinks people would rather risk it all for money than just take what they need. He's not completely wrong, but he's not fully right either.
It's like a mini version of the bigger theme of the show, people betting on a lucky break instead of playing it safe. Sure, it's just a scratch card, but it's the same idea. He's trying to convince himself that what he's doing is fine.
And if we think about the players, they're not really making a bad choice either. Skipping one meal for the chance to win big? That makes sense, even for rich people. You can skip one meal, but if you win millions, you're set for life. So, at the end of the day, the recruiter's just telling himself his actions aren't so bad. And if you think deeply, that's what the frontman believes too. In Season 3, though, I think people like him and the recruiter will lose. Because someone will always come to pick you up when you're down, whether the bad guys are alive to see it or not. When push comes to shove, humanity rises. And with that, please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, grab the subscribe button and turn notifications on. I'm your next Cine and I'll see you in the next one.